So, I want to talk about, when you get overwhelmed. So, in the reseller world, when you have a bunch of stuff that you've bought or you've accumulated and it's just sitting there taking up space, it's not making you any money, it's not listed, they call it a death pile. But this can apply also to other areas of your life, because, I have a cleaning business, so one of the things that, can be overwhelming is if your house gets out of control or you have a large house. Where do you start? How do you conquer this massive project without being overwhelmed? And I'm going to help you with that. And really, honestly, in a nutshell, it's just breaking it down into smaller jobs. So there's lots of different ways that you can go about it. A lot of people batch when they're doing something that's a production. So like they may take all the pictures and then they do all the measurements and then they write the listing. So that's for like reselling or any kind of production that you're making, like if you have to make a bunch of things or that kind of thing. It's just batching it, do all kinds of one task at one time. What I do, because I have a lot of customers that have huge houses, like the house that I cleaned yesterday, which actually is a clean house. They're not dirty people. But the house is so big that it literally takes me 6 hours to clean it, okay? It takes me 6 hours to clean a clean house, okay? Yeah, and so, they have huge bathrooms. This particular house that I'm using as an example, they have 2 master baths plus a couple other bathrooms. So, I could batch that too, and I kind of do. So what I do is 3 levels, a basement, a main level, and an upstairs. And in this house, what I do is I start downstairs in the basement because they're usually eating breakfast when I get there. So I go down there, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, typically when you're cleaning, you start from top to bottom, and I would normally do that. It's just this accommodations that I make for this particular customer, but that doesn't really matter so much. And I go through and I'll do what they call dry work. So I do all the dusting, and then I do the wet work. So they have a wet bar down there, and I clean that, and then I go and I clean the bathroom, and then I still moving from top to bottom in that space. Do cobwebs. And then the last thing that I do is the floor. So, that's the kind of way that I batch clean, for example. But like in a large bathroom per se, let's just say, and believe me, some of these bathrooms in these houses down here are as big as my bedroom. But you break it up into smaller spaces. So I might start, say, in the shower and spray it down with the mold cleaner or something like that. And then move on to the toilet and clean the toilet. And then the sinks. Well, I usually save the sinks for last because I may have to rinse my rag out. But you see what I'm saying. You do, instead of saying, oh my God, I gotta clean this whole bathroom, you just break it down into smaller parts. And you can do that with anything. Like even if you have, say you're making a big holiday meal, break it down into smaller parts. It helps to give yourself a plan, okay? And so instead of just diving right in and then saying, what am I doing? How am I ever going to get through this? Just stop before you even start and take a look at what you have to work with or what you have to accomplish. And in your head, try to visualize how you can break it up. Depending on the task, and maybe you need to cut all your vegetables first. You could do that, like with the dinner example. You could do that the night before, cut everything up and put it in containers so that in the morning, or in the next day before you get ready to start actually preparing the food, you've done all the prep work, okay? And it's like that with other projects. I mean, these are things that I'm familiar with, so I'm using examples that I've had to do in my life, like, cooking Thanksgiving dinner or birthday parties. And cleaning, I do that every day, or almost every day now, and it's just the same thing going along with any kind of project. If you break it down into smaller tasks, then you can get to it. And let me tell you something else. This can be taken to you can scale it. That's the big word nowadays. You can scale it. So let's just say you are, okay, I'm going to go back to reselling because that's where I'm at right now. Okay, and I have a death pile. Well, I actually have an intentional death pile, if you want to call it that. And so because I've opened this booth, I have things that I don't necessarily want to list online, but I don't, they have a purpose. They're things that I've been collecting over time for seasonal work, okay? So, like, I have a death pile, you want to call it. It's a planned pile of things for Christmas, things for Easter or spring, and I have them kind of put on hold in a place where I can find them when I need them. They're not all just shoved into, they may look like it because it's the way I organize, but I know where they are, and so when the season comes around and it's time for me to get these things to the booth where I need them, I know exactly where they are. So pulling them out of the general death pile, as they call it, was intentional. You know what I mean? And that frees me up right now so that I can focus on things that are going to be more productive today. And still have a plan for the future. And so anytime that you have a goal, because I do have a goal for fourth quarter for my reselling business in general, is planning ahead and how are you going to get to that goal, right? And so taking out little small tasks and looking as you get closer and closer to the due date of that goal, you have little tasks along the way to help you get there, instead of looking and saying, oh my God, and of course planning, even if it's just a 10-second plan, like I want to get my house straightened out, will help you stay focused and not feel like you're doing all kinds of insanity trying to get to where you need to be. So yeah, it's easy if you just break it up into small tasks. Try that and let me know how it works out. By the way, if you're interested in following me, of course, please click the button. Like this if I gave you any kind of value here. I also, in my YouTube video, I have in my description all my socials and my store links, etc. So if you're interested in any of that, that's down there, okay?